y'all, it's Kristen from Ardani Farm here, and this is the day after we had 4 inches of rain in 24 hours. I remember I was like saying that everything was really dry, and I was like, oh, I hope it's not a problem that everything's really dry. Well, it's not dry anymore. So what I'm learning is, and I'm coming to terms with, is that everything is cyclical and that it's okay. That, yeah, it's wet right now, but it'll dry. And then it'll get really dry. But that's okay, because it's gonna get wet again. And there's some comfort in that, I think. And just letting it be what it is for the time that it is that thing, and then it'll change. And the horses get to experience these different phases, and that's gotta be enriching, right? If everything's always the same, even if that sameness is quote unquote what we have determined as perfect, do they think it's perfect? And this hit me when I went to do night check last night, and even though my back pasture was about 4 inches underwater, the horses, half of them, were back there, tooling around in the water, grazing, I guess. I don't know what they were doing, it was dark. And I'm glad that, I was lamenting before, I'm like, oh, I can't afford to have a pond installed for them, But they got to experience their little, mini water crossing as they made it all the way. The land all the way in the back was fine, but the middle part was pretty splashy. And then the other girls were up front, high and dry, eating out of dry hay nets. They had the choice to be up here to do that, and they chose not to. And we talk a lot about choice, right? And we give the horses freedom to choose. But how much of that do we not like the choices they're making? And I'm really guilty of that. That I want to come in and micromanage their process. But I'm starting to just learn to let go and trust them. That they know what's best for themselves. And the fact that half of them were up front and half of them were out back, and they were making their own choices about things, well, I think that's pretty dang cool. I'm also starting to fall in love with our mud a little bit, which I never thought I would say, right? I'm always, so worried about it, and God, we don't know we're standing in it. But here's the thing, they don't have to stand in it. They can get out of it. We have, over 800 feet of completely surface track. We have a high and dry barn. There's lots of room for the horses to not stand in mud, but our mud is clay. And I was bemoaning that fact. Oh, it doesn't drain, blah, blah, blah. It's so, so thick. But you know what some of the best hoof supplements are made out of? The Artemud, field paste. Their base is in clay. And these horses' feet are looking great. I think the clay has a nice drying effect. Yeah, sure, clay is, slippery and all that when it's wet, but when it starts to dry out, it's very drying. We use it in face masks and all these other things, right? So I'm starting to appreciate the exposure the horses get to this clay mud. And again, because they're not in it all the time. They don't have to be. They can choose to stand in it if they want to. There are pits for them to roll in. There's sand. It's the very textures, right? And that's all part of it. That's part of living a more natural lifestyle, right? Is that they are experiencing the rockiness like if they were in the mountains. They're experiencing the sand as if they were on the beaches. They get to experience different textures, different ways of moving, all of that stuff. I think that that's part of it. So I'm just learning to appreciate the system as it is instead of always trying to make it what I think it needs to be. So look, here's my mud. And it's fine. I'm not gonna stress about it. In a few days it'll be gone. And then maybe the horses are gonna miss their mud, but then it'll rain again. Here's my dry track. It's nice and dry. The hay station's dry. Barn's dry. Sun's shining. It's all gonna dry out soon. Another way that I want to support the horses is by foraging for them. And these are cleavers, which is an herb that can allegedly help with supporting the lymphatic system and help with allergies. So whenever I find them, I grab them and I take them and I bring them to Allie. I just want to share that with you. Also, I am excited to announce that my plan is coming together. And our kind of browsing opportunities are starting to creep in to the pasture here. So you can see we have a big mulberry tree back here, and its little branches are just now starting to reach over our hot wire here, where the horses are going to be able to nibble on the leaves and possibly some of these little fruits here in the coming weeks, months, as they ripen. And I'm not too worried, oh, the sugar, I understand. There's not that many of them that they can reach, right? Most of the tree is tucked well behind the hot wire where they cannot get to it. And the little bits that pop over here, if they want to browse on that, that's fine. And I think it's ideal. There's lots of vitamin C in these leaves and the berries, antioxidants in the berries. And I think that horses are designed to have a diverse diet. I think it's going to help from everything I've read, help their gut biome and all of these things. So I think it's really cool. A little bit further down the way, we have some rose bushes that are starting to pop over the track, providing those opportunities. And I'm just really excited to kind of see these first bits coming to life of what I've imagined. And I have big plans for all the rest of it. I want to be able to have lots and loads of opportunities. Up front, we have some viburnum and some witch hazel planted and sweet spire. And we talked about the elm tree. And we have a black willow that's going to eventually grow up and allow for some like nibbling opportunities as it gets bigger. And I just think that that is part of this whole system, is allowing access to these things. And I'm just really excited to see this kind of baby system coming to life, coming into its maturity when all of the other plants are so tiny. So I tried to share that with you guys. I hope this helps. See you next time.